Hello everyone, it's Father's Day, and in honor of that, I decided to discuss a movie centered around fatherhood. So, I'm going to be reviewing Disney's The Game Plan. The Game Plan is about a fictional football player, Joe Kingman. Joe is a star. He's basically on top of the world, but he's also alone. One day, Peyton Kelly, an 8-year-old girl, comes to his doorstep with a suitcase and her birth certificate, stating that she is his daughter. Her mother was Joe's ex-wife, and she was born without him ever knowing until now. Peyton tells Joe a lie to convince him to let her stay with him for a month. She says that her mom is away to do humanitarian work in Africa, and she sent her to Joe's house last minute. Most of the movie, we just see Joe face the obstacles of fatherhood as he transitions from a conceited bachelor to a loving dad. Near the end of the movie, Joe finds out the truth about how Peyton got there. While at lunch with her and her ballet teacher, Monique Vasquez, Peyton's mom died 6 months before she visited Joe, and she had been in her Aunt Karen's care since then. Peyton was supposed to be in a ballet program. Karen was the one who was in Africa the whole time. When she and Karen arrived in Boston, they split ways, and Karen sent her with a car service expecting that Peyton would arrive at her dance school. Peyton had changed the destination via email and snuck away to Joe's house, and since then she had just been avoiding her aunt's phone calls. He's outraged by this and starts fussing at her. While he's doing that, Peyton has an allergic reaction to her dessert, causing Joe to get her to the hospital immediately. She turns out fine and her aunt arrives. Karen is not happy with Joe and she believes he's not fit to take care of Peyton, so she plans to take her back. They go back and forth in the hallway next to Peyton's hospital room while she's asleep. Joe's agent stays in the hospital room, and Peyton wakes up from her nap hearing his agent on the phone saying how much of a setback Peyton is to Joe's reputation. This upsets Peyton, and she tells both Joe and Karen that she doesn't want to live with him anymore. Peyton later realizes that she wants to be with her dad and returns to him during his championship game, where up until that point he had been losing. With a boost in morale, he ends up winning the championship, getting his daughter back, and everyone is happy. This is mainly a comedy movie, and it's actually really funny. It's rare nowadays to find a comedic family movie that makes actual funny jokes that all ages can laugh at and not resort to unnecessarily crude jokes for adults or poop jokes for anyone under the age of 12. It also has some really strong dramatic points that make me emotional every time I watch it. I love the storyline, and it's really fun to witness Joe's growth while he has all these new experiences with Peyton. Instead of him having a steady progression learning from his slip-ups, sometimes he'll make the same mistake again, but he'll eventually get the hang of it. And that's why this movie is an accurate representation of what it's like to be a father. As far as my critiques, I'm confused about the whole thing about Peyton changing the destination of her car service to arrive at Joe's house. I'm not sure if that would be possible, considering her ride would have been purchased under her aunt's name. How is it possible for her to email the car service and change the ride from her personal email address? Also, why would her aunt send an 8-year-old alone in a car service to go somewhere while she's out of country? That doesn't sit right with me. But I don't know. This movie came out in 2007. Things could have been different. Also, I would have liked to know why Joe was so infatuated with Elvis Presley. Pictures of him were all over his house. I know that Elvis's nickname was the King and Joe's nickname is the King as well, but that's not good enough for me. If this was my movie, I would have written a backstory explaining that. My favorite scenes were when Joe sings to Peyton after making her upset and when he dances at her ballet recital. And also, something else I had to mention, I really liked the song selection for this movie. At the start of the movie, Joe was full of himself. He wasn't much of a team player, and he loved to take the spotlight. His selfishness would get criticized by his teammates and a sportscaster who blamed Joe's conceitedness for the reason he couldn't win the championship ring. What I love about Joe is that when Peyton shows up claiming him as her father, Joe is reasonably skeptical, but when it finally sinks in that she's being honest, he doesn't run from the responsibility. Yeah, he's annoyed by the timing of the situation, but he still tries his best to be a better father and really, in the end, a better person. He was so used to being good at something, football, when he would make mistakes with Peyton, it humbled him and he became a different person. Watching a character be so willing to change is refreshing. Dwayne Johnson did a really good job. He's already an extremely talented comedic actor, but he did good with the dramatic parts of this movie as well. Peyton didn't really have any development. She didn't really need any, so I'm just going to comment on Madison Pettis's performance. She was amazing as Peyton Kelly. I really loved her performance. She could have been The Rock's real daughter by how well they worked together and how well she played her part. Travis is a player on Joe's team. He's a family man and is teased by Joe and his other teammates for things like leaving parties early to be with his family. But by the end of the movie, Travis ends up teaching Joe valuable lessons about fatherhood. Kyle, Jamal, and Clarence are players on Joe's team, and their purpose is to give comic relief, and the actors do a really good job with that. Outside of Monique Vasquez being Peyton's dance teacher and Joe's love interest, she taught Joe humility through making him participate in the ballet recital, so she was a nice addition to the story. As far as my rating goes, storytelling, I give it 4.5 out of 5, characters 3 out of 3, theme 2 out of 2, and that makes the total score 9.5 out of 10. Parenting calls for people to do a lot of inner work and change their behavior to be fit to raise a child, and that's what we see Joe do in this movie. Fatherhood isn't easy. It's frustrating, exhausting, incredible, and hilarious. With the help of good writing and great performances by the cast, the game plan does a good job of reflecting that. I hope you tell your dad you love him today, 'cause I know I'm telling mine. Peace.